What's good, people? Welcome back to that FPL show. Today, I'm joined by Rod, as always. We've been away for a while. Rod's been away, but we are back. If it's your first time checking us out, make sure to leave a like if you enjoyed the video. Subscribe so you don't miss any of the upcoming content. We're going to be doing at least one video a week, maybe even two, if anything intrigues us. But Rod, how you doing? You've been to Italy. What's going on?
Yes, mate. I've been strictly on a business trip away to Italy for a week. But it was lovely, mate. Nice to get away. Weather was beautiful. Missed a bit of the football, but we're back and we're discussing all things Premier League and then obviously Champions League a bit later on in a different episode. So let's do it.
Yeah, man, yeah. Let's just get straight into it then, Rob, because I have become the most irrelevant FPL player in the world as I became upset and annoyed at the fact that I was so far out of reach of something to even worth bragging about. And in my personal leagues, I'm not even anywhere close winning. So I've kind of just put it on the back burner, but I've been rooting for you, Rod. How'd you get on? You had a pretty decent week by the looks of it.
Yes, mate. I had a good week. I made the right captain choice. A lot of people went Salah. Salah came off the bench to get 1 point. I captained Son. I had faith in him against a leggy Leicester side, and he repaid me with 38 points. And it gave me a big green arrow, and it's put me to 43k in the world. So I'm currently within that top 50k. Hopefully I can hold it. But obviously we've got a big game week coming up where almost every team doubles, and people are going to be playing different chips. So hopefully I can keep in that 50k.
Yeah, well, we're into the last 3 game weeks now of what has been overall, I would say, pretty good FPL season. I've had a couple of fuck-ups with COVID around Christmas time, which made it really difficult. But now we're into the final stretch, Rod, and overall, you've had a really fucking good year. You smashed your personal leagues with us. You've been top for like ever, it feels like. I feel like I was close at one point, but maybe my naive decision making of maybe making 12-point hits at a time really cost me. But yeah, you're doing fantastic this year, Rod. And what has been the secret?
To be fair, I think Salah has helped tremendously this year. I think I've only dropped out of the top 100k once. But captaining Salah, it'd always give you those marginal gains, and then just having differentials in there. And yeah, in our league, I'm top by 130 points, and it's been luck coupled with a bit of skill. But there's been COVID this year. It's been hard to predict, but I don't really know what the secret is, mate. This is the highest finish I've had ever. Usually I'm within the top million or so, but this year is some sort of freak year, and hopefully I can continue that on until after game week 38 and secure those dubs in the mini leagues and hopefully finish top 50k. But secret wise, I really couldn't tell you, mate. I'm not too sure myself.
Yeah, fair enough. And if you do want to maybe get some of Rod's secrets, which he won't be telling us on the show, you can be sure to check out his Twitter. His main Twitter got deleted, so he's had to create a new account. What's the handle for that, Rod?
At FPL Double Pinter.
Oh, okay, yeah. Rod loves a double pinter on a night out, so it's no surprise. Be sure to go check him out over there. He tweets a lot about football and many other things. But yeah, Rod, moving on now, we've got I think, quite a hard game week. You don't have to worry about the early kickoff this week, Rod, which I think is probably a good thing. But what sort of moves are you looking to make now? The end of the season's so close, you can't really afford to make any mistakes. Making, new signings is risky.
So obviously we've got a huge double this week. I think there's 2 teams which don't double. It's something ridiculous. So I've gone in and I've taken out Werner. I brought him in a few weeks ago as a differential, hoping he could get me some points. He didn't, so I brought in Richarlison for Werner. I'm currently captaining Salah, and my whole team doubles. So hopefully I can get those dubs. But a lot of people are going to be playing the bench boost this week, so I'm going to need to try and make up those points with my differentials. So yeah, just Richarlison.
And he's definitely not got a ban.
He doesn't, I don't think. He's under investigation currently.
Yeah, talking about last week's football, I guess we can kind of get into it now. There were some crazy games, in all fairness. The relegation battle really took a turn. It was seeming like it was going to take a turn. Burnley were able to dig out a result. Leeds took Real against City, I think it was, and I thought Everton were going to do dog shit against Chelsea, but Richarlison ended up pulling out a winner for them, and then throwing a flare into the disabled section of the Everton crowd.
The Brazilians, they do it differently.
That is an understatement. And what were your takeaways really from, the relegation side of the Premier League right now? Because I think coming into the last game week, we was thinking that Burnley and Everton were probably the teams and that Leeds were safe. But now it's looking more likely that Leeds are definitely not safe. And Everton could maybe get their way out of it again.
Yeah, it's crazy. Where Burnley a few weeks ago, we completely wrote them off. I mean, Sean Dyche, we thought maybe they could do something. They got rid of Sean Dyche, and now they've taken 10 points out of the last 15. They're now level on points with Leeds, same amount of games played. Everton have a game in hand. They're 2 points behind Leeds and Burnley. It's crazy. I banked that Leeds was safe for a couple of weeks ago. I thought they just are. Getting those results against Wolves. And then there's literally 3 teams in it now. Obviously, Villa relegated Norwich last week. Watford are basically down. They're, I think, mathematically not currently down purely because of they've got 4 games left. But it's crazy. Looking at Leeds' fixtures, they've got some tough games coming up. And I think their next 2 games are teams in the top 5, top 6. Burnley have got to play Villa, and they have a good record against Villa. And then Everton, they're putting up some fight, narrowly missing out against Liverpool, beating Chelsea, which no one could have predicted. So it's very, very exciting down there. And if I had to guess, I could not tell you, genuinely.
Well, I will guess, Rod, and I will tell you. Everton are going down, and I mean, for me, kind of, in my opinion, the move for Frank Lampard to come into Everton was a mistake on his part. I thought it was maybe naive. But maybe it's just showing the fucking bollocks on the guy, because he's come in, and to be fair, he's not done a bad job in terms of what this squad has really proven to be, and that's a bunch of fucking bastards, in all fairness. They are shit, and they've really down tools a lot of times this season, and I think Frank is starting to get results out of them. I think Leeds are really probably the team you're looking at who think are going to struggle the most. They got Arsenal coming up this week, and you look at the fixtures for Burnley and Everton, you think they could probably get points there, both teams. And like you said, if I was to predict it right now, I would like to say Everton, but I think it's going to be Leeds again. I just don't think they've got the strength of maybe players up the top end of the pitch to put away the chances to maybe win this. I think you look at Rafinha, he's definitely going to be going next season, especially if they go down. I think the release clause is really low as well, and I think you'd be looking at the likes of maybe a Bayern Munich, a Barcelona, or maybe a Liverpool to maybe come in and get him. So yeah, I would say right now I'd favour Leeds to go down. But all in all, I think it's going to go right up until the final day of the season, and I hope it does, because I think all teams have been deservingly, they deserve to be in the position they're in. They're all fucking shit. I think you look at Burnley, was maybe thinking it was a mistake to get rid of Sean Dyche, but they've been able to pull some results after he's gone, which is impressive, but they deserve to be in a position as well. They haven't really financially backed their managers over the years, and Sean Dyche, I do actually feel sorry for him because he was never really backed. It's really interesting, Rod, and I can't wait to see this one, how it's going to finally play out. In other news in football, it looks like top 4's probably wrapped up. Arsenal able to get wins over Chelsea and United, which puts them in really strong position now to get top 4. And you look at the fixtures coming up, they've got Leeds compared to our Tottenham, who are the only team who can really challenge them for top 4. And Tottenham have got to go to Liverpool, I think it is, and I think that's a really tough game.
That's a huge game. Tottenham, I'm not sure if they've got the mentality. Liverpool, after obviously qualifying for the final in the Champions League, they always manage to pull out a result, even if they're not playing well. And Tottenham, they've got that bottle job mentality. Tottenham Liverpool's going to be an interesting one, and then obviously the game after that is huge. If Tottenham say manage to get a draw against Liverpool, then that North London derby is huge. I do see if Tottenham do lose to Liverpool and Arsenal beat Leeds, I do think it's out of their reach now, even if they do win the North London derby. But
Yeah.
Arsenal have cemented themselves quite well with huge results recently. So yeah, I think you're right there. Obviously, Arsenal playing Leeds, Tottenham, Liverpool. That could be the games that decide it.
Yeah, and like I didn't think they were overly impressive in the West Ham game, but I didn't think West Ham were either. Against United, though, we didn't really get to talk about that because we didn't have anyone to do the show with, so we didn't put one up last week. But I thought United looked a lot better in that game against Arsenal. And there was a couple of decisions I didn't agree with, but in all fairness, Arsenal probably deserved to win it all in all. I think you look at that Xhaka goal and deflection, poor on United's part, but, they deserved it in the end, and they've put themselves in such a strong position now where they hold, the rights to their own destiny, and they, if they do everything right, there's nothing that can be done to take them out of that top 4 spot, and fair play to them. I think Arteta's proven a lot of doubters wrong this season. On the other hand, I do think, are they really good enough to be a top 4? Because I think other than the top 2, everyone's really been pretty shit this season. I think you look at United and Chelsea. Even Chelsea now are in reach of Arsenal. But United and Chelsea coming into the season, there's a lot of talk about both teams challenging and there being like a 4-horse race potentially between the top 4. And definitely no one slipping out of the top 4. But fair play to Arsenal. They've been the best of the rest, I guess you could say, and they deserve it. But like you said, Rod, there's a big game going down between Tottenham and Liverpool, and it really holds, big influence over what's going to happen in this title race. I think, for City, they've got a really tough game. I think Newcastle, despite not really having that many great chances against Liverpool, but holding it to a 1-0 defeat, showed that they are a lot better than maybe I even thought, despite them getting these good results recently. And I think they could be a thorn in the side of City, who are coming off, European heartbreak in the fashion which they did. How is their response going to be in the league against a tough side like Newcastle?
I hope they bottle it, mate. I would love nothing more than them not to get a trophy this year, especially missing out on the Champions League through an absolute capitulation in the final minutes. Obviously, Liverpool beat them in the FA Cup. They got knocked out of the Carabao Cup, and Liverpool just looked relentless. And they have got to make up that point. They have got harder games, but it's going to be interesting to see how Man City react following that loss, because I think morale in the camp is going to be lower. They are professionals, though. They know they've got a task in hand, but nevertheless, they are human beings. So they're going to feel a heavy burden.
Yeah, and
so I would love them to get a result against Newcastle.
Yeah, sorry, like you said, it's not even just the fact that they lost that game. I think they went out there, played their best, and ended up losing. I think it'd be fair enough. But for me, the way they played wasn't a City team. I think if you think about what City would have done in a league game, I think if they were going away to Real Madrid in a Premier League sort of game, they would have approached it completely different. I think they would have gone at them. I felt that they were really reserved in that Champions League game, and I think they kind of blew it in the end. I know a lot of people are saying don't blame Pep, this and that, but they didn't go out there and perform in a way to win. They went into that game looking to, defend a result. Obviously, they did end up losing the game in extra time, and in the fashion which they did, there's 2 really late goals. I think that's going to mentally play a massive part, because I think if they can get up from this and get a really important victory against Newcastle, I think it shows the mentality of the side being really good. But I don't think they're going to have that, mentally strong side to them. I think they're going to really struggle in this game. And it's going to open the door wide open for Liverpool if they can get a result against Tottenham. How do you really see, Liverpool playing Tottenham? What sort of results can you see coming in that sort of game?
Yeah, it's difficult to predict, because Tottenham have been a very weird side this year. Like, at times they've been brilliant, and at other times they have just been poor, and they've just been very inconsistent, which is uncommon for Antonio Conte's side, with obviously his tactics, his style of play, etc., and mindset. But with Liverpool, they just look relentless. Obviously, Villarreal came back into that game, drawing on aggregate, and then Liverpool. I mean, Rooney did have a nightmare, but they still managed to see that game out and win convincingly. And Tottenham, they probably don't want to play Tottenham, especially as Tottenham are really chasing top four. But with Liverpool, I think they can beat anyone in the world. So yeah, it's going to be interesting, mate. And I'm glad it's televised because I think it's going to be an absolute corker of a game.
Yeah, I agree with you. I think matchup wise and like styles wise, I think these two are actually a really good matchup in terms of. I think you look at Liverpool as probably the overall better team. They've got a brilliant coach in Jurgen Klopp. But you look at Spurs, they have some really good weapons in terms of like, you look at Heung-min Son and Harry Kane, how they can really affect Liverpool on the break, and which is probably the area which they are weakest, Liverpool, defending against the break at times. And you look at Tottenham, that's their strongest point. I think you might see Harry Kane dropping deep in this game a lot just because of the amount of pressure they're going to be under. But I do think Spurs are going to score, and it's whether their defense can hold up. Because I think you look at Son, going up against someone like a Trent Alexander-Arnold, and maybe you could see Trent turning off for a second and the run being made and him going through. I do think though that I've watched Liverpool a lot this season. They will get something go their way. I feel like the officiating towards them this season has been extremely biased, and it is what it is at the end of the day. I think if Spurs can beat the 12th man, they got a chance in this game.
Here's a question for you. Would you put Son in the world-class category?
Yes. I think I think if he was at a different team compared to Spurs, you'd be talking about him on a different level. I think if he was in maybe in one of these fancy foreign teams, whether that be in Italy, maybe playing in a Juventus side. I know Juventus aren't the team they used to be, struggling this year in fourth. Maybe if you said an Inter team or an AC Milan team or Barcelona, Real Madrid, these sorts of European elite teams, I think you'd be talking about them differently. And I think if you were to replace Son with Salah in that Liverpool team, I don't think the effects would be all too massive. I don't think Son would be. I think he can compete with the numbers which Salah put up, if not, maybe be just a little bit shy. I think he's a quality player. I think he's very direct. I think when you look at his attributes, he's got all the ones you'd want in an attacker. He's got great pace, really good agility and balance and stuff where it comes to dribbling. For a big guy, because he's not small, he's 6 foot, I think, Heung-min Son. He dribbles really well with the ball, and in terms of maybe he does lack that maybe ruthlessness that other elite players like Ronaldo have had over the years, but I do think he's one of the top players right now in the world, especially going forward.
I think as well, if you look at his goals in the Premier League, he's 3 goals behind Salah, but we've got to take into account that Salah takes penalties and Son is not on penalties. So fantastic numbers. I think he's on 19 goals and Salah's on 22. So I agree. If it was in a different side, a Bayern Munich, a City, a Liverpool, a Real Madrid, Barca, those European elite teams, I think we view him differently. As he plays for Spurs, I think he's not as highly rated, but he's shown time and time again that he's a brilliant player. And I think I do agree with you in terms of ruthlessness, because on many occasions this year, I think he's missed some quite easy chances, but nevertheless, then he goes and scores an absolute worldie. So he's a fantastic player.
I think as well, like what you were saying is, he's 3 goals behind Salah, and I do think Salah's gone off the boil quite hard, especially in this new year. But if you take into terms the fact that Harry Kane hasn't really been firing on all cylinders this year, and he hasn't netted that many goals, so Son's been making up the difference for Spurs. But it's also a Spurs team who started the year under Nuno, and they look shocking, mate. And the amount of chances created, I'd love to see the difference in terms of how many chances are created for Salah compared to the chances created for Son. I think there would be a pretty big difference. I think the sort of chances Spurs do create for Son are probably more scoreable chances in the fact that, you know, a lot of them are on the breakaway. It's not normally that he's breaking down a low block compared to Salah. But yeah, man, I rate Son highly. And to be honest, I was saying at the start of the season, I felt like they should have sold Kane. I think you could build around Son, maybe even playing through the middle. I think with his sort of pace and his directness, he could cause a lot of problems with teams. And, you know, I think the money coming in from Kane, yeah, you're not going to be able to replace him in terms of like for like player, but in other positions you could really bolster the squad. And I'm really surprised that Spurs didn't do that. I don't think they'll ever get an offer close to that for Harry Kane now in the future. It looks like Haaland's going to City. I don't know what sort of team would maybe go in for Kane. I think if you're looking at the top teams, you'd probably say only United could really afford that deal. You don't really see him going abroad in his career. And you look at the likes of Chelsea, who are now going to be under new ownership and stuff like that. I think it's only United who could do it, and I don't think he's really performed to the level where United are going to be desperate enough to want to get him, and he's getting older as well.
I think, yeah, he's 28. He turns 29 at the end of July. I think City have missed the boat. I think he stays now at Spurs. I can't see an offer coming in that's going to even tempt Levi.
They're not going to want to, are they? Because they're going to get Haaland, who is younger. I think you got to look at the fact. Well, who is it? Raiola's dead, isn't he? So
also, yeah, I was literally just mentioning R.I.P. Mina Raiola, man. That's proper sad. He actually died in Milan while I was there. So,
I mean,
it was a bit
fair
crazy.
enough, you know, R.I.P. and I hope, you know, his family's okay and that, but that guy was a cunt. I mean, I'm not going to be two-faced and then go like, oh no, I'm so sad, because I'm not. I mean, I don't wish death upon anyone, but that guy was a cunt, Rod, and, you know, he was ruining football, in my opinion. Some of the things he was doing, I mean, the clientele list, I think in terms of what you'd want in an agent, he's probably right. He was making his players the most money possible, but the guy was a scumbag, in my opinion. But R.I.P. and condolences to his family, all in all. I mean, I feel a bit shitty now, but I'm not going to be someone who goes, oh, I didn't like him while he was living, and then pretend that I loved him when he was dead. Do you know what I mean? To be in all fairness, so when they said he died on Friday, and all the memes were coming out, because then he wasn't dead, and they was doing like, I saw this one of his coffin on like a lorry, and then the guy gets out the coffin, and then it turns out he died. That was kind of sad, because a lot of people have been memeing it, and then he ended up dying. But like I was saying, like, for without Raiola now as well, in the way I think maybe certain players which he worked with are going to be more attainable for other people, because he was someone who was really hard to work with. I think if you look at United, Paul Pogba's situation, awful. But with City going after Haaland now, with no Raiola, I think that makes a lot of difference. And
it was
gone.
Yeah, he was essentially a football super agent, wasn't he? He was wanting 60 million for an agent fee and then 60 million in terms of transfer fee, and he was very good at what he was doing. And in terms of clubs working with him, I think it'd be a nightmare to work with. And
well, yeah, because he was putting in the deals in the contract that once they've hit like maybe 3 seasons, like the range of his buyout clause is so low, and do you know what I mean? And they're not going to re-sign, because in all fairness, if you were a player, as an agent, he's what you'd want, because he's maximising the money for you. But I think as a fan, he was kind of making football really hard, and it became less about teams and more about players, in my opinion, under this new sort of the way football's going and under him. But yeah, I think, like you said, this has gone on a strange fucking turn. But we're talking about Harry Kane. I think he's stuck at Spurs, to be honest. I think, like I said, I think they should have sold him last year. And you said that City missed the boat. I think that Spurs did, in my opinion.
I think it was... Actually, I take it back. I don't think City missed the boat. I think dealing with Levi is just incredibly difficult. And if there was a gentleman's agreement, he didn't abide by it. It's on him. And he could have...
Harry Kane's a fucking... they go, oh, he's such a nice guy, though. He's such a nice guy. Mate, you're a fucking muppet if you're making gentleman's agreement. Have it in writing. I think his brother's his agent or something. It's so, like...
That's when you need someone like Mino Raiola, because Harry Kane's brother, who's got no experience in the field, hasn't really got a clue what he's doing. But big up Harry Kane for looking after his family and giving his brother a job.
Mate, can you not just pay for him to not work instead of, like... having him in charge of such crucial decision making. Do you know what I mean? It is kind of crazy. I wonder what sort of agent bonus he gets on the signing bonus and shit. Probably fuck all, but Kane's fucking doing it cheap. But anyway, Rod, let's get into I guess the fixtures, because I think in terms of Premier League, there's a lot of interesting stuff happening, especially at the bottom and the top. But there's a lot of nothing happening as well. So I think if we get into the fixtures and finish off this video, because I could talk to you all day, but the Premier League talk can only last so long. Let's get into these fixtures, bro. So it starts from 3 o'clock. There's no early kickoff this week. So in terms of fantasy, guys, you don't have to wake up super early. You're all good. Brentford against Southampton, I think it's a really interesting game. I think Brentford coming off that defeat against United, where all in all they weren't very good, and United were a lot better from recent performances. I think we're going to see him bounce back now against Southampton.
Yeah, both teams on 40 points. Southampton with a fairly worse goal difference. I see it being 1-1.
Man, not to think Brentford are on 40 points, right? Because they had 2 big wins recently, especially against Chelsea. If they had 6 less points, you're looking at them in the relegation fight. Nuts.
That's the magic of the Premier League, where like there have been some bizarre results this year. Newcastle, who we said were almost down at Christmas, are now on 43 points, sitting comfortably in 10th. So it's been a bizarre season, mate.
Yeah, most definitely. So what would you say for score-wise? I'm going to go with a Brentford 3-1.
I'm going 1-0.
Fair enough. Burnley against Aston Villa. I think this is a really shit game, Rod. This is the reverse fixture of the game that we was meant to go to.
Indeed.
Ended up spending our time in the German market instead. But yeah, I'm going to go with a Burnley win here against Villa. I just think Villa have really not got anything to play for. I think Gerrard's probably struggling to try and get that sort of urgency into his players now when there is nothing to play for. And I think Burnley now, you know, it's do or die, and they got to pull out some results. I think at minimum this is going to be a draw, but at what I think it's going to be, I think it's going to be a 2-1 Burnley win.
Our record in recent years against Burnley is horrific, especially at Turf Moor. So they do love playing us, and they've got to play us twice. So they're on some hot form right now. You know what? And like you said, yeah, we beat Norwich, but we once again were average at best. So Burnley are going to be well up for it. I'm going to go 2-1 Burnley.
Yeah, fair enough. Chelsea against Wolves. I think Chelsea have just kind of... I mean, they've made some bizarre decisions, especially in like the Champions League, where you look at Tuchel bringing off Werner, who was arguably, you know, maybe the best player on the pitch in that game for Pulisic. I just don't know what's going on in that club. I think there's a lot of things going on around the club, especially with the sale of the club and some news about Abramovich wanting the money back, which could put this club in peril, really. I think there's a lot of disturbing stuff going on with the club. I think, you know, their mind really hasn't been too much on football, and therefore I'm going to go with a Wolves, a draw, actually, a 0-0 draw.
Yeah, I'm going to have to agree. I think it will be a draw. Both teams play a similar style of football. I'm going to go 1-1.
Okay, fair enough. I'm going to go, well, yeah, 0-0, I think. Crystal Palace against Watford, I think, is a game which is like nothing really for either club. Watford are down. Palace are safe as they could be. I'm going to go with a Palace win, 3-1, Gallagher.
Yeah, Watford essentially down. I'm not too sure what's keeping them up. Looking at the table, they need 12 points to stay up in. I think it's currently goal difference which is saving them. Gonna be a 2-0 Palace.
Yeah. Brighton against United, I think we've seen United actually put in some much better performances in the last couple of games, but still not good enough. I think you're looking at Rangnick now starting to drop players and probably make way for Ten Hag to come in and maybe be able to make some easier decisions. In terms of United, though, I've been really disappointed in this season, just in terms of watching games, but before the game, not even having any expectation of players turning up. Like performance wise, is like the main thing for me of United. Like results, if I think we're gonna get a win or not, it doesn't matter to me. But at least knowing that the players are going to turn up and put a fight in for the badge. But yeah, I think away against Brighton, I don't think Brighton have been the team which they showed they could have been at the start of the season. I think lack of a true ruthless number 9 has really disappointed them at times. And I think they do create chances, but they also lack someone else who could, a proper sort of like number 10 who's got that quality, like a Christian Eriksen. Like if they would have signed him, I think you would have seen some really decent performances over the last few weeks from them. But I'm going to go with a 2-0 Manchester United win away, just because I don't know if Brighton are, ruthless enough up top to get any goals.
I'm going to go with a 1-1. This is a pretty dead rubber game, I think. I'd like to see United play some youngsters.
I want to see Garnacho play.
I'd just play some youngsters. 1-0.
Have you heard about Garnacho?
Not a clue who he is, mate.
So he's just like 17-year-old Argentinian who's been ripping up for United youth setup. He's trained with Messi and Ronaldo, and there's a lot of hype about him. Haven't honestly seen too much from him, but apparently he is like an insane talent. So I'd love to see him play, and there's a lot of other United youth players who would like to be seen thrown into the mix. I think we've kind of used youth players at times in really bad situations, whether that be bringing on Hannibal Mejbri in a game at Anfield where we're getting shat on. Really destroys confidence, but in all fairness, at least he tried his best. But yeah, I agree with you. I'd like to see some youth players. We've got nothing to play for. If we end up in Europa League or the Conference League, what difference does it make? They're both shit. So yeah, I wouldn't mind seeing us play some youth as well. Liverpool against Spurs, I think this is probably the biggest game of the weekend. Really hard one to predict in my opinion, but I'm going to go with a Spurs win. I think on the counter-attack they are deadly at times, and I do think that Liverpool can be get at. I thought the Villarreal showed that if you put it on them and you press them as well, you can have success.
Yeah, I completely agree with you. If you can match Liverpool's press and go at them, then you've got a chance because of that high line, and that's what Spurs are quite good at. They're good at infiltrating high lines and beating the press, and we've got Son, Kulusevski running. So it's an interesting game, unusual time for most Saturdays, 7:45. But I can't see past the Liverpool 2-1 win.
Yeah, I think that's fair enough, man. I just think Spurs 2-1 win. And the reason is as well, I think that Liverpool midfield has really been getting exposed as of late. I think Fabinho's great as a great CDM, but I think they really lack some eights. I think there's talk about them getting Tchouaméni, which I think would be insane for them, especially if they could get Jude as well at some point, maybe not next season, but in the future. That would be a great midfield for the future. I think they need actual investment in that, because I think it is a side of the Liverpool team which has been kind of forgot about. But there's also, with Liverpool, something I want to talk about is, have you heard that 60% of the Liverpool squad have asthma, which allows them to take certain drugs? I forgot the guy's name, it's Scouse Lad, online did this research which allows them to take drugs which, if you was in the Tour de France, you would be disqualified for taking these drugs.
That's interesting.
Yeah, and let me tell you right now, a lot of people go on about PED use in football, right? Football is like every other sport. At the top level, if you think there's no uses of performance-enhancing drugs, you're batshit crazy. The testing for Premier League footballers and football in general is so lenient, and the way that they test it, it's easy for these players to use. And I'm telling you right now, a really high percentage of Premier League football players use performance-enhancing drugs, because I think it's something which is looked upon as as an excuse, because I do think Liverpool are on performance-enhancing drugs, but I do think pretty much every other team is on them as well, which I think is crazy. Pardon?
Apart from Norwich.
No, apart from United, mate. I think we've proven. Yeah, and Norwich. Arsenal against Leeds. This is actually a really good game. I think Leeds are going to give it their all. I think they got battered against City, but they were still there at the end chanting. I'm going to go for a Leeds upset here to make the North London derby super interesting. So I'm going to go with a 2-1 Leeds.
I hope not. I don't want to see Leeds go down, but it will be quite funny if they do. I want to see all the big teams back in the Prem, and obviously Nottingham Forest in the playoffs and that. So
Yeah.
I'd like, from a purely historic point of view, I'd like to see Leeds stay, but purely from a comedy point of view, I'd love to see them go down. But I can't see past an Arsenal 2-0 win.
I think that's fair enough. But yeah, I'm going to go 2-1 Leeds. Leicester against Everton, I think's important game for Everton. Leicester really haven't been looking at the races recently, and a really terrible performance last night in the Conference League against Roma. Just never looked at it. I think you look at the likes of players who you rate at Leicester, and they're not even performing at the moment. So like of Tillemans, Maddison, I think's been trying his best, but the rest of them have been pretty shit.
It's, yeah, probably heartbreak against Roma, especially narrowly missing out, losing 1-0. Vintage Mourinho performance, I guess, from Roma. Everton fighting for their lives, so I'm going to go with a 2-1 Everton win.
Fair enough. Then we got Norwich against West Ham. Can't see past West Ham getting this done 3-0.
Be interesting to see how they bounce back after obviously missing out on that final.
Yeah.
Frankfurt, but it's 2-0 West Ham, I think.
Yeah, I mean, even with that game, I think they really struggled, especially after going down to 10 men in the second leg. But yeah, like you said, Norwich just aren't a Premier League, are they? City against Newcastle. I'm going to go with a Newcastle point here. I'm going to say it's going to be 1-1. I think mentality-wise, I don't think City are going to be there, and I think Newcastle have got enough to maybe nick a goal somewhere in there, something scrappy. Like Joelinton will header it, it'll be going wide, and it'll come off the arse of Chris Wood and go in. That sort of goal.
I'd love to see a result here for Newcastle just to literally hot up that title race. It'd be interesting to see the mentality of City, how they bounce back. But it's good that they have a home fixture. I would have preferred if Newcastle were at home, because I think St James's Park is a very difficult place to go, especially when that crowd is behind them. But I think probably 3-1 City, I think.
Fair enough. Then we go Tuesday, Aston Villa against Liverpool. I think Stevie's going to do a favour here for Liverpool and let them win. I think you'll be looking at a Liverpool 3 or 4-0 win.
It must be, especially for Steven Gerrard. Obviously, he's a professional football manager in the Premier League, but purely from a obviously fan point of view, it must be incredibly difficult when your team are chasing the title and they play the team you're managing. So, of course, he's professional, but it'd be funny if he plays a load of youngsters for Villa. But
see Carney on there.
Yeah, where the 17-year-olds, similar to when we played them in the FA Cup, and all we could play was like 15, 16-year-olds. But he's a professional guy, so I imagine it's going to be a professional team. Going to still go 2-1 Liverpool, I think.
Fair enough. Then we'll move on to Wednesday's game. Leeds against Chelsea. I just think Leeds at home against Chelsea is a really good fixture for them. I think Chelsea at the moment just lost, especially off the pitch as well. So I'm going to go with a Leeds win here, 2-1. Late comeback. I think they'll get a goal in the 80th minute, and then they'll get another one in like the 90th minute, and Ellen Road will erupt.
Just looking at it, we have got some very good televised games coming up in this next week. I think this will be a good game, Leeds Chelsea. See him drawing. I'm going to go 1-1. I think they narrowly they might have drew or narrowly missed out on a draw in the reverse fixture. But yeah, I'm going to go 1-1.
Fair enough, mate. Then we'll go Leicester Norwich. Dead game. Glad this isn't televised. I'll go 0-0.
2-0 Leicester, I think.
Okay, Watford Everton. I think Everton have got what it takes. I think Frank he's got the bounce now. I don't know. Honestly, I think it's going to be hard, just because Watford, don't really have nothing to play for, but I do think Everton are that bad that they might struggle in this game. I'm going to go 1-0 Everton.
I think Watford at this point, providing fixtures go against them, they should be down. So, I mean, I think they know they're pretty much almost down now. So it'd be interesting to see their mentality. And Everton, they need a win here. So I'm going to go 2-1. Although their away form is pretty dire, but we'll see.
Yeah, we will see. Wolves against City. I think this game is a gimme for City, despite it being away. I think City are the type of team that can break down a low block, and I think they'll be trying to get back on track with this game, and I think they'll do it quite handily. I'm going to go 3-1.
Yeah, this game tends to be a low-scoring one. I think Jimenez got sent off in the reverse fixture. Wolves very good at sitting back, very good, very well-drilled defensive team. I think I'm going to go 1-0 City.
Fair enough. And then we finish it with the North London derby, in which could be the deciding game for top four. Man, I think this is going to be really tough. I'm actually going to give it to Spurs though. I think you look at strength of manager, strength of squad. I'd probably give them the edge, and I think they could get it done here, Rod. I really do.
I just want to say you don't play a proper derby on a Thursday at 7:45, but yeah, this game decides top four, I think.
Yeah, 100%.
And I see Arsenal winning it 2-1 Arsenal.
Yeah, I completely disagree. I'm gonna go 2-1 Spurs. But yeah, man, that would be super crazy. No matter what happens, I think in terms of Premier League, it'll probably be beneficial if Spurs do win it, to take it even closer down to the wire. But that's been the end of the show, guys. Thank you for watching. If you've made it this far, please leave a like if you enjoyed it. I think we ran out of steam there towards the end, Rod. I think we haven't done a video in quite a while, and definitely feeling the pace of it though. It's a lot more draining than I thought it was going to be. But yeah, I hope you guys enjoyed it. Please subscribe to the channel so you don't miss any of the upcoming content. We're going to have a Champions League video probably on Monday with me and Rod, just giving you our thoughts on what happened in the semi-finals and giving you an early prediction for the final. Be sure to check out Rod on Twitter, new handle at FPL Double Pinter. Well, sorry, it still makes me laugh. But yeah, but thank you for watching, guys. Until next time, take care of yourselves. Peace, take care. Bye.